All right, so I think my music experience from '89 to right now is kind of it's kind of what's the word I'm looking for? It like because as a kid, I kind of had like a very heightened sense of awareness about what was going on around me. I felt like I was very different from all my peers and stuff. And so when you got music in '89, I started running into more like the Chub Rock Chuck, I Fight the Power, um, Kid and Play, House Party kind of music. So this is like, from what I believe, you got the MC Hammers, you got TLC, and right now, like I remember black culture being something more like it was party music. It was the culture was all about house parties, having a good time. It wasn't about recklessness. You know what I mean? Then from about late 91, 92, you get the NWA. You get the NWA that was kind of pivoting into more of the gangster rap era that we got from like 93 to about 97. Then in around like 96 or so, you had what I call it, I ping it as the bling bling era. I ping that as the bling bling era. The bling bling era is where you had Lil Wayne, No Limit, um, Lil Wayne, No Limit, Uncle Luke, uh, who else? 95 South. That's that like and and then in the 2000s, I think the gangster rap and the bling bling era kind of mixed in. But then you also had the neo soul era as well, which the neo soul era was kind of it was short, man. Neo soul era was kind of uh the neo soul era was kind of like maybe about 2 years, where you had your Commons, your Indian Irie, the Erica Badu, which Erica Badu kind of came out maybe about 97. So she was kind of the front runner in the neo soul era. Yeah, the booty shaking era. But I think the booty shake era and the bling bling era go synonymous with each other. So and then you get, I think hip hop started like moving into more of like pop music at that time. That's when they make that real transition to pop music. Um and and then you get this completely degradation of the music. Like the music became less and less meaningful as time drew on. You know what I'm saying? You had your pockets of artists who could do what they do. Nas never got away from doing what he was doing. Uh who else? Erica Badu. You had a few people that you can never change what they was doing. But the problem was is that this is not what mainstream media wanted to promote. So you had a lot of years where Nas was making albums and they was going unnoticed by popular culture unless you had a dedicated fan base that was actually following you at that time. So 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 let me go back. I'm gonna go way back. I'm gonna go back to '89 and talk about like how I was experiencing the culture in real time. Um, and how the culture is kind of synonymous with what was going on. And plus, we're gonna go into the cultural divide between white and black at that time. So this is how I perceive it. This is not factual. We're not going into no uh set amount of like documents I may have and stuff. This is just completely from my experience. So, and I want to know from you guys is like, did you actually feel that going on at the same time? But a lot of y'all on this channel was a lot older than me at the time. So I'm like 6, like '89, I was like 6 years old. So I'm growing up with all these changes happening. And I remember myself like kind of asking questions, like what MC Hammer at? Around like 93. I'm like, what MC Hammer? What happened to MC Hammer? What happened to uh Rakim and Kumo D, uh Chub Rock Chuck, MC Light? Like where are these guys? Because they're not being seen right now. And I was just sitting up there asking myself, and I was like, bro, what is actually happening with the music? Because you can see it change. You know what I'm saying? You can actually see it like in the general populace about what was happening. And sometimes I think that music is synonymous. Music culture in America is fragmented and society itself is fragmented. So when it came to black music and how divided the culture was, and this is why people put comments on my channel like, where were you? How could you not know about the Bee Gees? How could I not know? First of all, I did not know a lot about the Bee Gees at that time. So so it was a bit weird, man. And if y'all remember, we actually, when Snoop Dogg came out, we actually had an era for like 2 years where it was all about smoking weed. Like it was a lot of smoking weed type of music too. So and I feel like, with rap being rhythm and poetry, you had um R&B, which is rhythm and blues. I think a lot of people can get with the rhythm and blues part, but I think a lot of people just go completely disconnected from rhythm and poetry. Um and Jeff, I can see Jeff agree with me too. So, being a kid and wondering where these artists are, and they wasn't being promoted much anymore. And then you start seeing a different era of artists being promoted, like the NWAs, the Ice Cubes, the West Coast, Tupac, all that stuff, and they was to perpetuate a certain thing. And then you started seeing that certain thing being perpetuated in society. Gang violence was not glorified early in music. You know what I'm saying? You had a lot of conscious music talking about the OGs and stuff like that, but you never had that polarized. So, in a lot of different interviews you may see with old school artists, you were like, man, look, a lot of those guys, they already knew that a bunch of these guys were not gangsters because gangsters don't talk. You know what I'm saying? They don't perpetuate crime in their music. And and I remember seeing that, and I remember seeing like all my friends started to change. All my friends began to bag their shorts. And all of my friends began to get the gold teeth, to get the to to look like what they see on TV. And the funny thing was like, now that I think about it, I'm a little bit older. I didn't see it at the time, but you had a whole generation of kids who didn't have who were struggling with identity. I won't particularly say that they didn't have fathers in the home either, but you had a whole generation of kids who didn't have fathers in the house, when me being one of them. But my father he was around, but to have direct influence on me on my day to day, no, he wasn't living with us. And you had a whole generation of kids with no guidance. You know what I'm saying? Even in the 80s generation, we didn't have a lot of guidance. You know what I'm saying? The guys I looked up to were Sting from wrestling, The Rock. Guys I looked up to rap wise was like Q-Tip, Busta Rhymes. These are the guys that I seen that are perpetuating success for men on TV. So and like I said, I'm freestyling this. So in the comment section, y'all can get me for whatever y'all want to do. But This is just my experience, and in the eight, and I don't want y'all comments to kind of distract me, but you had a lot of kids that were just seeing doing what they saw on television. You know what I'm saying? Like if I'm looking up to a wrestler, I'm perpetuating his wrestling moves on on TV as what in real life. So that's the power of media. You know what I'm saying? That's the power of media. And I think the power of black music in media was not the whole problem, but it was definitely a tool used as part of the destruction of to keep the community sleep, basically, to help to have the Pied Pipers of the culture kind of direct us in a way that the industry wanted us to go. Now, remember, the prison industrial complex really took was booming in the 80s and 90s as well. You know what I mean? So it's kind of a weird thing. And then, like, so in 96, this is where gangster rap music was peaking, really. And I disconnected myself from rap. I saw, like, as a kid, I was thinking to myself, I cannot connect myself with something that doesn't represent who I am. So I began to kind of go this way into more of the popular white music. So this is, I'm in sixth grade at the time. So I'm starting to see, no doubt, you know what I mean? I'm starting to see, who was I listening to? Red Hot Chili Peppers. You know what I'm saying? I'm starting to listen to them. And there was like a counterbalance with me. You know what I'm saying? And I still liked hip hop. I still liked R&B, but that gangster era of hip hop, like I backed off. So now I'm starting to gain this like counterbalance of music so I can dip and dabble, into whatever black music I want to hear. I started to recognize that a lot of R&B was heading towards the more it became more sexual in the content. Um what gave me hope for hip hop was like Timbaland and Magoo, Missy Elliott, Aaliyah, uh Genuine, shoot, even guys like I think Q-Tip around this time came out with Vibrant Thing. That was like 96, 97, 98. Uh Busta Rhymes had a Busta Rhymes when he first came out, he had a good stretch of music for about 2 years. Talking about that song Dangerous. If you really want to party with me, and then he y'all. Like I like that stuff. That was like Busta Rhymes music was like you can tell that was him, authentically him. Tribe Called Quest. Um, you had a lot of guys that you could pick from. So I was just sitting there thinking to myself, I was like, well, you know what I'm saying? I jumped through that. And but then in the early 2000s, you start seeing the bling bling era. I completely disconnected. By the time Lil Wayne, Baby, and No Limit and stuff, I was moving out. I was like, no, 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 no. So then I went into more like Savage Garden. I went into more like in the 2000s, you know what I'm saying? I started listening to more Green Day, shoot, man, Nickelback, um, who else? I was listening to Mace, P. Diddy and Mace had a good time. They had a good stretch of music for a couple years. Um, but that's when I started clocking out. And so that was my experience. But now what I see through the culture, that's what the industry wanted. You know what I'm saying? And I think music is very synonymous and what music should be representing for a culture. Music for a culture is historically have been like the societal glue that kind of holds people together. And you could tell by that point, hip hop, the messaging, the supposed message hip hop was supposed to bring was completely broken. It was not what it was supposed to be. And I think why people like kind of gravitate to 90s music, why people kind of gravitate to the 70s and 80s and stuff like that, that the messaging in music was relatable. And that kind of gets me to go into why I believe white people kind of tuned out with hip hop music and in general. Now the divide was already happening in the 70s. The divide was already happening in the 80s because they began more genres began to come from different types of music. So a lot of the societal genres like rhythm like blues and disco and all that stuff, those was kind of being buried by the pop music that was coming in. So I was like, wow. And to be able to see those and those reactions that we did on the lives with the most popular music was they're definitely telling me what was going on. You know what I'm saying? Like as I mentioned earlier, like the music in the 70s was together. You had black and white folks doing disco soul music together. So you didn't see a lot of racial divide at all because the messaging was very similar. You know what I mean? You had your Janis Joplins, your Jimi Hendrixes, you had your Staples, the Staples, the Carpenters, did I say the Bee Gees already? And you had a lot of that music sounding the same. Even Elvis. Elvis in the late 60s was actually coming when he did the comeback special. That music had a lot of soul in it as well. You know what I'm saying? And we're not gonna get into the mumble rap, Diesel. We're not gonna get into the mumble rap because by that point, hip hop's messaging is completely destroyed. Is mumble rap was I would compare mumble rap era to the psychedelic era of music. You know what I'm saying? And then you talking about you said about Warren G and the Bone Thugs and Harmonies. You was actually talking about um that music was even relatable. It had a good feel, it had good rhythm. The music was definitely you could tell that was true West Coast music. And yeah, yeah, that's a good song. You know what I'm saying? And all gangster rap music and to help people kind of understand what gangster rap music really was. Gangster rap music was just the stories of the streets. And you can tell when white people kind of disconnected because gangster rap is not relatable to anybody to anybody that's white. So when you began to see the era of rap sucks when it came to white folks, you know, even kids in school would fight me over wearing baggy jeans. But when you seen the rap sucks era, you can see that's synonymous with the gangster rap era. It was nothing to them. They can't relate to that because that's not their life experience. So white folks was like, hey, that's their music, and we're gonna stay over here. But I like that Run DMC. You know, I like that Run DMC, you know. You know what? Katie Noel wasn't that bad though. So like culturally, like what are we, culturally, I just kind of think about it, man. I'm like, man, if we can bring back some of that 70s vibe to music where everybody's together, you could kind of do something culturally. See, Diesel, they ain't nothing but your fault. Yeah, yeah, and they took the guitar out of hip hop as well. Y'all tripping me out, man. What else? I know I'm forgetting some things, man, because I was just on a car ride home and I was just like, you know what, man, let me get online and talk about this. Um, but you see, man, you see fragmentations of like black people in all different types of genres, man. You know, even techno, man. It's like techno music. Ba ba da dee da boo da 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 dee da 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 do 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 da 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 da. So yesterday was Father's Day, and my mother told me that um, my dad. I knew this about my dad, but he was a DJ. He was a DJ in the 70s, and he absolutely loved music. So I think my dad gave me my dad's love for music came to me, and I thought that was cool. Yeah, I don't want to get copyright claim for humming music on this. You know what I mean? Right, right. You know what I mean? Jeff is definitely correct, man. So I'm gonna put let me see, I'm gonna go get it. So it say it all came from blues. Black folk helped birth rock, but they censored that part. Right. And sometimes sometimes my thing is that the people who produce the foundation in the music, they should be a part of the rock and roll hall of fames and such as well. Um, for the simple fact that you don't see guys like um Rakim in the my first of all, like the hip hop, the rock and roll hall of fame is completely biased. Um, I really do feel that's convoluted. Like that doesn't represent the true essence, and those guys don't get the credit that they deserve. Hey, hey, what's happening, Wings? I don't know how to say it. And say I still love Proof, but I believe he had a really hard life. I watched in the interview him talking about how he took the streets of Minnesota because his dad would beat him all the time. And you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. Like Knox Hill talks about how people would come and then one thing I think we need to stop, you know, black folks we need to stop is not the problem is hold on, let me retract, let me back up. The only thing like Eminem, to me, I still believe Eminem is a guest in hip hop, but Eminem Eminem has never took advantage of his place in hip hop. Eminem has always paid homage to the people that came before him. So a lot of the times you see Eminem, whenever he accepts an award, he'll always do these long shout outs to the artists that came before him. So you definitely gotta understand that Eminem knows where his roots in hip hop is. He knew that without these guys, I can't be Eminem. So what's up, Wings? Welcome to the stream. Saying YouTube recommended. Wow, so YouTube is recommending me. You know what I'm saying? We gotta celebrate on that one, man. We gotta throw a little bit of that out there. Shout out to YouTube for recommendations, okay? Shout out to YouTube. And a lot of people say did the one of the terms that I hate the most is people say, well, just because you started it don't mean you the best. And I don't like that comment because that's the generations who start a music trend always want the generations after them to enhance the music. That's I don't think, besides people who struggle with ego or who have egos, uh a- I feel like a lot of people that want music to progress and they want the future artists to be better, but they want the future artists to be rooted in what they establish. And ain't nothing wrong with that. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Like if I'm a musician, I'm gonna study the music. And you don't get a lot of artists these days that study the actual music. Now, now what I will say, if you are, and you know what I'm saying, Jeff, like that kind of being a genius when it comes to that stuff, that got to be in your DNA. That guy, you just, what I'm saying, coming out the womb good with music, you just got to be that's a natural gift. That was something in your family that just was here. It was in you. As soon as you heard it, you knew what to do with it. That's DNA. You born with it. So, that's but when we talk about like music should have its own education. Black and white music alike. There should be, if kids, like if I'm looking at my kid and he's a prodigy with music, there should be private schools that can support that talent. You know what I'm saying? He shouldn't have to go to he should receive some education, but primarily he's going to school for music. So by the age of 15, he knows everything he needs to know. Is there mathematics in music? Yes. Is there history in music? Yes. Is there social studies in music? Yes. People a lot of musicians should know the history of what music means to a culture, and um know who came before them. But read the physics of jazz. Oh, thanks. Thanks for giving me some music references. But that's just my history with music. That's like a general course of music history that I've had. And what I do believe music needs to be separate from the general populace. I think musicians themselves should have a different purpose in life. Um Down all the way to the local level. And that's why I've been doing a lot of research on African spirituality and like how music is like, I think we all can agree that music is spiritual. So if we take that concept and we see what type of music is birthed out of spirituality, that I mean, yeah, music can get music could go way over here, or music could go way over here. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I think even for white musicians, like I've learned so much about white musicians just going back and just listening to them and listening to how they were singing, listening to the messages in the music. It's always synonymous with the culture. Right now, you know what I'm saying? If you take everything from 2005 up until now, you can definitely see how they want to divide this generation from the previous generation, where how they have young talent coming in with no respect, no connection to the old school of music. But when you see new generational music coming to the old school, you start saying stuff like, "Man, J. Cole, man, he's spitting like Nas," or uh, Kendrick Lamar, man, he's spitting like Common. You start seeing that, and you can definitely tell that they pay homage. So Jeff says music is more powerful than any government. The united crowds is drawn in concerts altogether. Politicians and government fear this power, so it's been stifled for decades. Right. Hey, thank you. You say where the white women at? I like that username, man. Gotta get a horn for that username right there. Gotta get a horn for that username, man. Hi from Thailand. Love your reaction. Shout out to Thailand, man. Shout out to Thailand. I would love to visit Thailand. Just a tangent. Music is absolutely historical documentation, culturally and otherwise. I think it's a part of why reactors are so popular. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree. Let me see. I'm gonna post give you all a shout out with Heather. You said music is absolutely historical documentation, culturally and otherwise. I think it's a why reactors. We are becoming them like if if I'm somebody that's taking reaction seriously, I am a caveat. I'm a pseudo historian of music that's that's discovering this in real time. So I'm like, yo, they were like, hey, yo, the BG sound black. You know what I mean? The BG sound black. Oh, I love Brooks and Dunn. And that's why I kind of do want to bring some uh small documentaries to this channel, like just stuff that I want to discover. I just need the time to do it. Yeah. And I noticed since I've been doing reactions, I noticed that the age range has increased. Now I'm starting to see people that are like 70 plus subscribe to my channels. 55 to 70, um 40 to 38 to 55. Like I'm starting to see that. You know what I'm saying? And I can tell that's definitely a generational thing. When I was just doing hip hop, I was just pretty much 28 to 40. You know what I'm saying? Please hit that like button. Show the like button some love. So we can get YouTube to recommend more of these streams. I'm trying to get more comfortable expressing myself on camera because even though I do it through reactions, I have the music to kind of help carry the conversation. But I just want you guys to know that like discovering music for me is historically what I like to do. So please forgive me if I haven't gone down that rabbit hole with your artists. You know, right? So you know, Columbia. If I do research, I think Columbia Records is like the the oldest music label ever. I think Columbia Records has been around for at least 100 years. So I'm sitting there thinking, we sprinkling some salt on where the music industry started back in the 1900s, back in the 1920s, where you didn't really have a music industry or you didn't have an entertainment industry. So so why?